Brazilian theory things, or how do you go about it?
The more you're conscious that it's a fretless guitar, the more scared you will get and the worse it will sound. People never believe me when I say this, but if you just treat it like a normal guitar and don't look too much, you get a feel for it pretty quickly. It helps if you have some idea what noise you're trying to make with the fretless. Certain things become a lot more difficult. If you like go, you will never get that standard blues kind of vibrato because you can't bend the string up. There's no fret to rub against, you have to kind of rub side to side. So I think the strengths of the fretless are largely for players who like crawling around the fretboard. So obviously it's starting to sound a little bit Indian there, but those guys, when they play their stringed instruments, in Indian classical world, it's all zipping up and down on one string, rather than staying in a scale box. So if you think like that anyway, and I try to some extent, then fretless is a fun thing. If you're just going to pick up a fretless and go, it will sound worse than a normal guitar. So I think it has to start with your imagination. If you think, I know what I would do if I had a guitar with a big flat metal fingerboard and no frets. Then you just go exploring. I will add one other thing. It's not that difficult to get competent at fretless in your bedroom. It's a different thing to be able to play fretless in tune at stage volumes. Because the louder things get, if you imagine the needle on your tuner pedal, it's like the louder your amp gets, the fatter the needle gets, and the less precise your pitching is. So particularly in the early days, but even now, I've been known to do gigs with a fretless and I thought I was in tune, and then I went home and listened to a recording of it and I was filled with shame. Because in the gig environment, it sounds close enough, but on a recording it's horrendous. So that's something to bear in mind.
Well, we move on. One more question, move on to the next song? All right, one more question. All the way in the back, the person who decided to sit as far back as possible.
Yeah, sorry guys, but another question for Guthrie. I know that you are an amazing jazz player, but a lot of guitarists have this question. When you're improvising, playing jazz, my question is, what kind of scales did you use? Because sometimes,
you know what? I knew you were going to say that. Scales are not always your friend.
Yeah.
If you spend all of your time practicing scales, and then when it comes time to jam on something, all you've got is... because that's the only thing your fingers remember practicing. The scale is like an alphabet, but not all of the letters in that alphabet are equally important. If you want to think more like a jazz player, just bin all of that and go back to which notes are in the chord. Even for something basic like A minor, instead of thinking, what's the jazziest scale for A minor? No. There's your chord. The best note in the world is A. The next best notes in the world are the other notes that are in the A minor chord. And then a little bit less important than that, you've got maybe the notes on A minor 7, or the notes of, just adding in a note every time. A minor pentatonic. And then when you think about modes, you don't have to throw away your arpeggios, you don't have to throw away your blues licks. For instance, A Dorian, I think a good way to think about A Dorian is, it's this. It's that scale that every blues player knows, and you just add 2 extra notes. So if you throw that one in, it's a bit of a Dorian flavour, and then if you throw this one in, you are Carlos. So that way you can go from being blues guy over here a little bit Dorian. So you get this idea that the special notes in that scale are kind of special colours, and you can accent them more or accent them less, rather than just trusting this shape to do all the work for you. the important stuff always, the notes in the chord, particularly in bebop or something where the chords are flying by really, really quickly. If you're playing over something like Donna Lee, you don't really have time to play more than 4 notes before the next chord comes along. You know? So does that make sense? As a way of thinking?
I do have that problem when I play jazz because maybe I'm playing one chord and the next 2 beats is another chord, but it makes sense to me.
I think you have to kind of let the chords tell you what to play.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's do one of Marco's songs now.
Right, so this is actually a song called Desert Tornado, and thank you. And it's actually off the new album, and this indeed is one of the harder songs, I'd say, on the album. There's a lot of tricky bits in it, and we fucked it up royally a few times already.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, it's harder for you technically than it is for us. It's very technically difficult for you. For us, it's just the form.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, you know, a lot of kind of memorizing things, and also like a lot of, you have to be very specific with the groove on that song, you know. This is, usually when I write from the guitar or from keyboards or anything else, but this song actually starts...
Now we can talk about the song a little bit, now that you heard it. Anything you want to start with?
All I know is I wrote this tune in a kind of frantic hurry, and possibly, if any of you are familiar with my solo album, there's a kind of slight link, maybe in the vibe, with a song called Uncle Skunk. Somehow in my head there's a kind of slidey thing, and it's in E, and it's kind of distantly related to that song. But really, my favourite bits of that song are... I just like those chords with what Brian's doing over the top. It sounds nicer clean.
Yeah, he wrote it so I have to go... And then I slide down so that I can hit this note here for a second, and then go... Just like an A major 7 triad. So it's from C sharp 11. C major 7 sharp 11.
So I guess the new age version would be this, wouldn't it?
Yeah. This, by the way, this bass line that he wrote for this song is really hard. This is actually, it sounds like a simple song, but this is actually the hardest song for me to play on the whole record.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. Oh, the second half, yeah, the second half is... So what that is for a second there's a D major 7. And then... That's a cute little Guthrieism right there. Right? And so he sent me the demo of this song, and it's him playing bass. And it sounds unbelievable. It sounds so great. You should hear him play bass, it's really good. There's also another part in this song which is very difficult on bass, which is the harmonic thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He sends me this bit, and I hear all these harmonics, and like, you know, bass players will sometimes mess around with harmonics, and I'm realizing the more that I play it and the more that I screw it up, that there's only one way to play this thing. Like, your left-hand fingering has to be absolutely perfect, or it just won't work. So right there, you've got to hold your index finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, while your pinky gets that, and your ring finger gets that. And those two things are the 5th harmonic on the G string, and the 4th harmonic on the D string. And you can't choke your fingers on it, or the whole thing will go away. You have to curl your fingers up. And then, see what I just did? Hear how it got choked a little bit? That's doing it wrong. That's the part. I can barely get my left hand to do that. Questions? Sure, right there.
Okay, this is for both of you. What advice would you give to, while improvising, play exactly what's in your mind?
I think you just answered your own question. Play exactly what's in your mind. That's what to do when improvising. I can be a little more helpful. I think every player becomes the player they asked to be. Whatever you do with all your thousands of hours of practice time, however you choose to spend those, that's what you're going to end up being good at. So if you spend those thousands of hours with a metronome being this guy, you'll get very good at that, and you won't get any better at expressing the music within, because you never stop to listen to the music within. So it depends what you care about. For me, because I started very young, and music always felt like a first language to me. It never felt like a foreign language, so I feel grateful that I started when I did. But the fun of playing for me was always, I can copy all the stuff I hear around me, that sounds like a good thing to do, and when I invent a melody in my head, I can try and play it on the instrument. So I always had that mindset when I spent time with the guitar. So many, many moons later, I guess I got moderately good at doing that and didn't get any better at feats of memory. So I'm more comfortable in a situation where I'm improvising than in a situation where someone gives me 20 pages of score to learn. You know, because that's how I spent my life. That's what I want from an instrument. I want to be able to imagine something in my head and then share it with other people using this as a typewriter. But not everyone will have the same goals. So figure out why you